Hi, it's William, and today we've got George. So welcome back to another session on barefoot trimming. George is a French Trotter. He's approximately 12 years old, and he's been with me for about 6-7 years now. He's very honest. So if you want to try something new and different, he's the guy to try it with. Anyway, we've been getting questions. One question we got is how often should we trim our horse? I do my horses every 4 weeks. I've heard of some people doing them out to 6 weeks. Anything beyond 6 weeks, you're just opening up for a whole lot of problems with your horse's feet. Everything starts splaying out and just doesn't work well. Okay, so George is actually out to 5 weeks from his last trim. So as you can see, there's the shell on this one's going straight down, but on this side you can see it's starting to flare. So here it's just comes straight down and then it starts going out. That means the shell's being pushed away from the actual hoof capsule itself. So then if we pick them up, and we can clean it out, you see here it's starting to stretch away, and you can also see that there's the shell length's getting longer, so there's more prone to it breaking and just not doing nice things. The other thing is also that's his sole finishes there, so that runs all the way around there, and then now he's starting to get a lot of length in this part of his sole. With the length comes leverage. With leverage it starts peeling it away from the actual hoof capsule. So this is George's left front foot. It was trimmed around 5 weeks ago. As you can see, now it's starting to get a bit high, and this is what's going to cause the flare. There's also potential that it's going to break off. The other thing to look at is that you can see that now there's a fairly big depth of shell there, and what happens is the outer edge is now going to put pressure on the shell and try to peel away from it. But for being 5 weeks out from being a trim, it's actually pretty darn good. Okay, so we'll start doing George's trim. So once again, we check our collateral groove, which for him it's sitting just there, so he's looking pretty good. You can look at his sole, you can see it's all growing out to here, so he's getting quite a bit of depth into his actual sole. And if you listen to that, that's as hard as rock. So those are really strong, solid hooves. Once again, we just take off a little bit of the bar, and that's all that's going to happen. We're not going to touch anything on this. So when you're rasping, you want to be really careful. You do not touch any of this part of the sole, because this is the sole length that we actually want. If you watch someone doing it and they take away too much, or take away any sole with your rasp, they're not doing it right. So we know from our collateral groove, we're just going to take the heels down a wee way. And just make sure they're balanced, which they are. And then from here we then go put our 45-degree on. This is the white line that's starting to peel away. Now George has got a very strange stride. So he's got a very, I suppose, a slothy way of walking. He drags his feet everywhere. And we've tried all sorts of tricks trying to get him to do it properly, but it's just what he does. But then we alter his trim to suit it. Round to the front. I'll show on the other side with his breakover. But with George, because he walks a bit strangely, if you look at his breakover, he goes to the front of the knee and goes straight down, and then that that area there is where his breakover is. It's slightly off skew. Okay. To the beard. Pete, what are you doing? Our supervisor today is Pamplona. He's making sure we do it correctly. So this is taking this flare off that was there. Sorry, I was supposed to point it out better. Start our Mustang roll. A little bit of flare there, so we'll take it off. And now we go to back. And that's that one done. Okay, so if you can see this is his right front, and you can see how it's quite snub. Now the reason it's snub like that, it's not something that I've done, but when he walks, he's like a sloppy teenager that just doesn't pick up his feet, and he will just drag it along the road. There's nothing much we can do about it. The only thing we can do is to try to make sure his heels are lower, so they're balanced, and you'll find that we will not touch any part of this hoof. They won't get touched at all. Okay. So once again, pick him up. Got a little bit of frog that's loose. We're just going to take that off because that doesn't need to be there. So the frog grows from the inside out, and there's no nerve endings or anything on it. What is there though, either side of that, there's tendons that go back up into the hoof. This helps the horse to keep its balance and feel what's actually going on the road. So when you see someone cuts away, you know, they get the knife, they cut all the frog away, that's not good for the horse at all. So my attitude is I leave it until I have to cut it off, rather than just cutting it off to make it look better. But that's now still functional for him. So we'll go through, we'll check our collateral groove depth, and there's about 4 or 5 millimeters off that side, and about the same on that side. Right there, George. Your balance is good. Knock off these little bits of bar. Yeah, you can see this is the flare which is happening on this side. This is because of the way he walks. So see now, that's his sole there, and that's the shell. So that's all stretched. That's all stretched white line. And this is because of the way he walks. He doesn't walk, it causes all that to happen. So you can see on the other side, it's all very tight and quite small. But for this trim, we're going to take all that will come off. Not touching this at all. See, there's tons of break over there. So what we're going to do is bleed this into the actual hoof itself. taking it back to there. And that's it done. So we haven't touched any of that. And then what's going to happen when we put them onto the actual hoof stand, that'll all come back. So we'll bring that all back to there. Okay. Okay, so once again, we're not going to touch that at all. We're just going to go down there. See, we're starting to get some wet shell now. Not going to touch that. We're going to go to here. And see, there's slightly bit of flaring starting to happen there now. So we'll just take it off. Start putting on our Mustang roll. What do you think? Now, you see occasionally a bit of bruising like that. They all have it. On a white sole, a white hoop, you can see it, but there's no difference between white horn or dark horn. It's all the same. It's one of those urban myths. Okay, so if you look on the side here, we've taken away that flare, so it's all running straight. So it's running straight from there all the way down. Okay, and stop saying okay. So now we'll just take the foot back and we'll finish off our roll and just make sure everything's okay. So see, now we've come back with the actual sole. It could come back a little bit further, which I think we might just do, but other than that, he's pretty much good to go in there. This part of the hoof, there's these sections here, there's no weight bearing on it. So the weight bearing is on the heels and on the toe. That's where the majority of the weight's put on your thing, on your hoof. And it's done. Doing well, mate, aren't you? Hey? We're going to his left rear. The hooves mirror each other. They mirror each other on opposites. So if you look at this hoof here, you'll see that he's ground down the toe here, which is exactly the same as what he did on his right front. So they all work on diagonals. And usually if you get a fault in one hoof, you get it in the exact opposite on the rear, and that's a really good example of it. And George, you're not going anywhere yet, mate. Okay, and the same thing with the frog. Just clean that up. This doesn't hurt the horses at all. So the frog and the digital cushion are all part of the shock absorbing forces within the hoof. So when the hoof strikes the ground, the hoof acts like a pump, so it expands, which draws blood into the actual hoof, and then when the hoof comes up, it contracts and it squirts the blood back up the leg. You're right. So you can see over here, you can see the flare that's starting to come in on the actual sole, so on the horn. So you've got the horn joy goes down there and then it's flicking out. We're going to take that off, because if that stayed on there, when the hoof strikes the ground, that's going to put leverage onto the actual part of the shell, which is then going to make it delaminate. George, where you going, mate? So now you can see that's come off, and that's going in a straight line from there all the way down. Starting a roll. So nice and straight, looks all good. A little bit of a lump there, we'll just take it off. Okay. Here we just go through and we clean it up, make sure there's no sharp points, and that's done. Make sure it's balanced, which it is. Well done, George. Okay, once again, frog's pretty lanky, so we'll just take off these lumpy bits. Okay. To get our clit or groove. See how that's sitting. See, it's really, if you even drop your camera, you can see the marks on the hoof pick. You can see he needs very little taken off his heels. But then if you look at the sole, it's all growing out really nicely. George, where you going, mate? And that's pretty much what's coming off there. So we'll start out 45 degrees. Yep. Okay. You can see where the breakover is here on that, so we're not going to touch that at all. We're going to bring this, we'll bleed the rest of this into the actual shape, and then it's all going back. See, it's all starting to kick out there. I'm just going to bring it back in line. The back beard starting to come through, so the stop. So that's reasonably straight, so there's not much coming off that at all. Start putting our roll on. And that's that. Come on, George. And from here we're just going to knock off any sharp edges, and then a bit of flare there, not much. And that is how you barefoot trim a horse. Isn't it, George? You're a good boy.
Happy? No, never happy.